I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. If you have never opened up your Fatshark goggles, I'm going to show you. I had to do a repair on my Fatshark goggles. I had a little piece of dust inside actually, it turned out to be inside the optics. And so I took them apart to get it out of there. How to get in there, I don't know. But I want to be clear to you that this is not a how-to video. I do not presume to know the correct way to take your Fatsharks apart, but I figured it's kind of like watching one of those guys do a stupid prank where he hits himself in the face with a hammer. It's entertaining. It's not a good idea. So don't do what you see me doing here. You absolutely will void your warranty. You will destroy your goggles. I am not good at this. I am not trained at this. But hey, here we go. Let's see what's inside the Fatshark goggles. And the first thing you see me doing here is removing my LaForge and removing the antennas from the LaForge. It's a little bit of a hassle. Every time I take a Trudy out of my goggles and it just pops right out, as opposed to doing a LaForge, I appreciate the Trudy just that little bit more. But there you go. I'm not trying to start a LaForge versus Trudy debate here. Just saying. A friend of mine actually suggested that when you take the goggles apart, you can just leave the LaForge in there, and you'll see how you could kind of just split the top half off. And then if you just sort of carefully leave it in there, then you don't have to deal with this nonsense. But I'm taking it out. Here we go. If I didn't have an internal install on the wire, this would be a lot easier because, of course, the wire would just pop right out and the whole thing would just drop out. But since the wire is in there, having to deal with routing the wire, not tugging the wire, getting the wire into the beautiful injection molded covers, taking the covers off without damaging the screen, the whole thing is just, I mean, I'm sure that someone from UBAD right now is going, "Are you kidding me? It's totally easy. I've done it 1,000 times. Well, I haven't done it 1,000 times, and it's a little bit of a hassle. But anyway, once you've got the modules out, the next thing to do, you're going to take the strap off. And you're going to pop off the faceplate. I say you're going to pop it off. What I mean is you're not going to pop it off because you're not doing this. I'm going to pop it off. I'm going to pop the faceplate off just with a little bit of pressure there, just some little tabs that pop on. Every time I do this, it sounds like I'm breaking something. It just cracks off. No, take the diopters out also. No, those aren't the diopters. Those are the little 3D printed plugs that someone gave me to go in those holes to, I don't know, stop light leak. Anyway, every time I pop the faceplate off, I'm sure I'm breaking something. I have never broken anything yet. Just sort of apply some pressure and it'll pop right off. Here I am very carefully seeing, did I break something? Did one of the tabs pop off? No, it didn't. The next thing to do then is to remove 3 screws from the bottom of the goggles. And this is some black foam that I stuffed into the diversity bay to stop light leak. This is actually not really needed with the injection molded covers for the LaForge, but with the 3D printed covers, especially the clear one, there's a little bit of light leak, and that helps prevent seeing some light come in through the little cracks in the holes. I still keep it in there even though I've got the injection molded covers, which do a pretty good job of stopping the leak. So I'm taking out these 3 screws. And the next thing I do is to separate the 2 halves of the case. You can do that by just spreading a little, start at the front, and maybe apply a little bit of pressure to the bottom to get it to, it's a little bit tricky. You can apply a little bit of pressure to the bottom to get it to sort of release and separate. You can see me pushing on the bottom there and spreading it to try and get the tabs to release. And then I use this little plastic thing to keep it from snapping back together again. But really it's that pressure on the bottom that gets the tabs to release, in my experience. And be real careful when you're doing this, just, there you go. See, when you do it right, it comes apart. Now there's one more. Don't try and pull them apart just yet. On the back center, just above it snapped back together again. On the back center, just above the nose, with a little bit of pressure there, I did it pretty quickly, it'll break apart. And then you can separate the 2 halves. Now don't go crazy here. There's a bunch of ribbon cables and stuff, and you're not going to want to pull on them. I want to show you this mod that I did so that I don't have to plug my battery's balance plug into the fan. I've got a permanent balance plug installed, and I've soldered it to the back side of the barrel jack where you plug in your main battery. So I did this by actually making a hole with a soldering iron through the top of the goggles. You can see there, just a hot soldering iron, poke it down, poke a hole. You don't actually have to do that. There's a better way. You can actually just route it out. There's a little gap already in the goggles right behind where the head strap is, and you can just route it out there, and you do not need to actually make a hole in your goggle case if you don't want to. And this is actually nice because it means when you take the goggles apart, you won't have that additional wire joining the two halves together. I don't know. It's your call. I think the hole in the top is a little bit neater than having it come out near the head strap. It's really up to you. Here's a close-up of how I soldered it to the barrel jack. This is just a 2S balance plug. You can buy spares of them. The negative most wire goes to the base, and the positive most wire goes to the center, and then it just gets routed up here. And there you go. And then you just plug that into your fan balance plug, and then it just can be powered whenever the main battery is plugged in. If you do this, you cannot run your goggles off of 3S anymore because a 3S battery will burn out the fan. You can only run them off of 2S, so keep that in mind. Now I'm going to lift out the optical assembly. This is the screen and the lenses, and underneath it you can see the little where the IPD adjustment knobs are, and there's a little ratchety part on the optical assembly that locks into those sliders. And now I have ascertained that the piece of dust or dirt is actually inside the optical assembly. I have removed the optical assembly from the glasses, and I'm going to disassemble it. This is the part you really, really should not do. But since I'm doing it, you can watch me do it and screw my goggles up, right? Well, I didn't screw them up, thankfully. But so a few screws come out, and you're about to see what these lenses actually look like. It's pretty cool. As you're putting this back together, you need to push the two lenses, the two screens, all the way inward, and then push the IPD adjustment sliders all the way inward, so that when it goes back together, then the IPD adjustment still works correctly. That's easy. You could also push it all the way outwards, I guess. But you shouldn't do this at all, and you're not doing this, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, here we go. Totally voiding the warranty in 3, 2, 1-ish. Here it comes. Now you can see that great big honking thick thing there. That is the glass lens. That's the, yeah, here, let's get a close-up. That's the glass lens there, and behind it is the screen. That's the white thing, and then you've got the front lens element, which I believe is plastic on these goggles. And now I've taken that lens out, I've blown off the piece of dust, and I am reassembling it all. Just everything goes back together the way it went in. Cover goes on, screws go on, and you pray to God that it works when you put it back together. Yeah.
But I would actually want to add this power up button.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid.
That's yeah. Yeah. I know the mod you're talking about. You can just add a. Some people do a cable, a battery cable with a power switch in it. That doesn't require you to mod your goggles.
That's an idea.
Anyway, let's see if I fixed it or if I destroyed it.
You fixed it. I'm sure of that.
We'll see. I slipped today in the rain and fell and dropped the goggles, and afterwards there was a black spot on the screen. And it looks like it's on the lens and not the screen, but I can't be sure. Jesus. Anyway, obviously I was like, I'm sure I can fix that before the show. What time is it? Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Hey, Vic.
Hey, Josh, how you doing? We're gonna get
You ever see one of these before?
Oh, yeah, that's from inside a Fatshark. Did you break them? Did you?
No, well, I think I got a piece of dust on my optic, on my lens. Either that or my screen is messed up. One of the two. We're gonna find out.
Let's Let's hope it's just the dust.
Mm-hmm. All right, moment of truth. I think I fixed it.
Yay!
I don't see the dust, that's for sure. Oh, yeah. Awesome. All right, I'll put that back together after the show. Woo! Woo!